Yeah, guys, welcome back again for another tutorial. Of course, as we all know, we are always continuing from where we stopped in our previous lesson. I hope and believe you guys are learning. And of course, we have a little break that was for the weekend. I believe you all have your weekend nicely, okay? And we have a weekend to allow you to practice all what you have learned. All right. And trust me, the only way to know is what? Put practice. Practice what you watch. Don't just watch the tutorial and leave it like that. You will not know. But when you put it to practice, it's left with you wherever you find yourself to Microsoft Excel. So I'm encouraging you guys, if you only have interest in learning to know Microsoft Excel, be practicing what you are saying. Don't just watch video as if you are watching movie. This is not a movie we are acting here. Okay? And in today's lesson, we are going to talk of what we call relative cell reference, absolute cell reference, and what's the difference. Okay? When we talk about a relative cell reference change when a formula or a function is copied to another cell, while absolute remain constant no matter where they are copied. Relative cell reference and absolute cell reference come about when we want to copy formula in another cell reference. Okay. When it matters to Microsoft Excel, this area is very critical to understand, but in other areas, it's very simple. And you must know relative cell reference and absolute cell reference. If not, when copying formula to another cell, you might have errors. And you might find it very difficult if you don't understand absolute cell reference and relative cell reference. That was the reason why before going to some minor calculations, I want us to learn first what are absolute cell reference and what are relative cell reference. Because you might come to some examples where you might face a problem when copying formulas or functions in another cell. How to handle such errors. Right? Without wasting time, the only way to understand is let's take a simple example here. Then we will see what we are talking about here. Okay, this is a simple data we have. We have places, we have Moyambabu, Kenema, so on, and this is the distance we cover to go to these places, and we have percentage and liter of petrol we used, and this is a cost, right? And mil per liter is 10 leons, and of course, price per liter is 20 leons. That's in our new currency, okay? Sierra Leone, I believe we all know that we are using two currency. We have the old currency and we have the new currency. It's only Sierra Leone we are using two money. Never mind, that was just to grab some fun. Nevertheless, let's come to business proper. Okay, now to have our liter of petrol here, we have to divide the distance here by mil per liter. Okay, now let's take a look at this. So let's put our equals to sign here. We all know when we want to start a formula or a function in Microsoft Excel, we must put our equals to sign. Now, since we are to divide our distance by the mil per liter, then we have to put B3 here, divide it by the mil per liter here. Now we hit enter. And if you use 44, if you want to cross check, take your calculator, put 44 divided by 10, you have 4.4. Right? This is it. Now, we all know that Excel, you can either do this manually also by saying equals to again B4 here, divide it by 10 here. Okay, and of course you start. But you doing this separately, assuming you have a lot of data going downward. Of course, this is just a little data here. But let's assume you have a lot of data going downward. You typing formulas one after the other will take you a couple of times. And we all know Excel can handle that for us. Immediately you have calculated your formula, all you have to do is autofill the formula. But if autofill this formula, we don't have what we are looking for. You see that, guys? You see, we have an error here. We have an error here. And this error is the formula or function used in dividing by 0 or empty cells. When you have a #div/0 error, it's telling you that the numbers you have divided is an empty cell. I told you all now, guys, that we are going to talk of all these errors in Microsoft Excel, but that will be in our advanced level, not this beginners level. We have a couple of errors in Microsoft Excel when we are doing calculation. And you need to know all of these errors. You see, when we copy our formula down, we have an error here. Although we have a figure here, but this figure might not be correct. Okay, you can see there's an error here when we copy down our formula. But by default, if you copy down a formula, it needs to what? Works. The reason being here is, if you look here, we have, take a focus on the formula bar here, focus on the formula bar. We have B3 here, right? Divided by what? D18, which is the 10. And if you click here, you can see that what B4 here is being divided by D19, and D19 here is price per liter. And we are not dividing distance by price per liter, but what? Mil per price. And by default, when you are copying a formula down, when you are replicating a formula, you are moving one step. Excel also moves to what? One step. That was the reason why we said a relative cell reference change when a formula or a function is copied to another cell. Of course, this is as relative cell reference. A relative cell reference, when you copy, Excel also what? Move to one step. That was the reason why instead of this here, instead of Excel dividing 72 by 10, it divides 72 by what? 20. Because we move one step, and Excel also what? Move one step. And when you come here, Excel move also what? To what? D20, and this is D20. And D20 here is an empty cell. That was the reason why you have an error of what? Hash div. That is telling what? You have divided a number by one, an empty cell. And D20 here is an empty cell. Because when you copy a formula down, Excel also what? Moves one step. Since we move one step, Excel also what? Move one step. And when you move one step, also Excel what? Move one step. I don't know if you're understanding. That was the reason why you have an error here. And this is a what? Absolute cell, is an relative cell reference. Okay, so let's remove this. If we want Excel to be taking 10 and divide it all by this without moving, then we have to do what? Absolute cell reference. Then we have to do what? Absolute cell reference. We are going to make this 10 to be constant. That is the reason why we say what? Absolute cell reference remain constant. So we are to make this 10 remain constant, not allow Excel to move to what? Another step. We all know when we copy a formula down, Excel also what? Moves downwards. So since we want to divide 72 by 10, we will have to make what? 10 here an absolute, not allowing Excel to move what? One step here. So how am I going to do about that? So all you have to do, let's clear this now. Input our equals to sign. Now, B3 here, divide it by what? 10 here, which is the mil per liter. And this time around, we are going to make this 10 here an absolute cell reference. We have to make it constant so that Excel cannot move from what? Another step here. So how to do a cell absolute? How to make a cell an absolute cell reference? All you have to do is click before this D here. Focus on your formula bar here. Click on this D here and input what? F4. Click on F4 on your keyboard. Now also, you see, now we have put a dollar sign to this D and also a dollar sign to 18 here. We have make D18 an absolute cell reference. We have made it constant, so Excel cannot move to any other cell. Right? Now hit what? Enter. Now if you copy this formula down, you can see there will be no error. You see that, guys? There is no error now. And if you click here, you can see B4, we have B4 here, and C is what? D18. This time around, Excel do not shift. It's still D18. If you click also here, you see B5, and now is what? D18. Excel is moving what? To another next step in the B column here, but the D 18 here is constant. It is not moving. So when you put a dollar sign in our cell, that means you have made that cell an absolute cell reference. It is constant. But if the dollar sign is not in the cell that you have selected, then it's a relative cell reference. And by default, relative cell reference, when you are copying a formula down, Excel moves what? One step. So you have to make the cell constant so Excel cannot move to what? Another what? Step for you. Now let's